Hello again and welcome to another NestKing tutorial. Before we go into the technical details, please do not forget to visit our homepage and get a free demo. And the most important thing, if you are using NestKing and you have a question, send us an email via the contact formula and we will respond immediately. Now let's go into NestKing. You're already familiar with our three basic shapes from the previous tutorial, part 1. Today, what we are going to do is create a custom material, then apply the material and change the fiber orientation according to specific desired needs. Now, back to the shapes, we have the rectangle and then the oval cutout and the arrow. The outer edges are marked red, the outer contours, the inner are green, and then we have the plot layer here in magenta. So first, what we are going to do, we are going to create the master cuts, generate master cuts. Yes, now we have the master cuts. As the next step, we can add the material here in the material dialog. The material dialog offers you three possibilities: the global materials, local, and then from file, if you want to load a file from your colleague, for instance. What we are going to do is use a local material of our own by edit local materials, add, and then this lovely dialog box appears. Now, material attributes. You have the article number, then NestKing name, which is kind of important because this is going to be shown everywhere where you use the material. So we can call it tutorial. And then I like to use the weight of the material per square meter. So 180 grams per square meter, twill, and twill C. C stands for carbon. Full name, you can write the full name in full text, supplier, notes, and then the technical details like the width of your cloth, then the material margin, top and left, and thickness. Thickness kind of important when you try to apply the thickness compensation. Please see another video on the radom, and there you will see also the thickness compensation, the length and margins. Now, for the material weave type, here we can have unidirectional, plain weave. This is what the unidirectional one looks like. Of course, you can change the orientation, which makes no sense with the unidirectional now. Then the stain weave and user defined. Now, for our tutorial today, we will use the twill 2x2 and quick explanation of the wrap and weft parameters. Here you can of course change the width as you need, and of course the air gap is also changeable. Then the color can be changed to something else. Oops, blue. I prefer going back to the black. Now, important for today is the fiber orientation. You see the yellow arrow here. The yellow arrow represents the reference direction. Of course, the reference direction can be changed. If I choose 0, it points to the right. So 0 means to the right, and this is also your fiber direction. Now 90 degrees will point to the upper edge, and this is again aligned with the 90-degree oriented fibers. Now on the twill, this is why I chose it for this tutorial, you have a third direction, which is the optical direction. It gives you an optical sensation of 45 degrees crossing from the left lower corner to the right upper corner. Now, in some areas, you may want this to be your reference direction because this is where you bring your material to shine. Right? This is what the user at the end sees. Now, I will for the start use 90 degrees or 0 degrees and explain you the nest rotations. The nest rotations, you can also read about it in this small cheat sheet here. The nest rotations specify the possible rotations of your patch in nesting. For instance, now if I care about the fiber orientation and not much so about the optical direction here, I can just enter D for delta 90, and this will give me an instance of 90 degrees. So during the nesting process, your fiber patch can be rotated by instances of 90 degrees, and this will still satisfy your reference direction. It will still maintain the fiber orientation as you need it for structural purposes. Of course, you can also put D9 or D10, whatever you like, and 360 degrees gives you a full circle. Oops, this is not required, this update. This 360 degrees shows that your fiber patch can be oriented in absolutely any direction. So there is no restriction. It can be rotated, no restrictions. Good for the nesting, but maybe not so good for structural integrity of your component. Now, what happens if I prefer to use the optical direction for reference? Now, entering here the D90, you can immediately see that rotating the patch by 90 degrees, this is not really going to keep the optical direction. Therefore, this is not the option that I need. What I can do, I can just simply put 180 degrees, and if I now turn by 180 degrees, I will still keep my optical direction. So this is something that I want for my tutorial today. So I am going to keep this and save. Save, now we have our material here. Okay, and close. Now we can go to the step table and apply the material. Instead of the default material, I'm going to choose here this one. Again, if you would like to edit something, you can of course do the edit also from here. I'm going to just double click on this one and put an article number 123. Save. And now I chose the material and it's here. All right. Next thing is go to the sketcher. Now I want to align the material with my arrows here. These arrows put on the plot layer, these are the orientation that I desire. By double clicking on your master cuts, you can first choose to display the material pattern in the side of the sketcher by marking here this instead of the color. Let's go back shortly. Here you see what your material now looks like. Opening this again, by simply highlighting the step, you see what the step orientation is in this case. Now, double clicking on the step angle gets you this dialog where you can set the material pattern either by correction angle here or typing in, or by this little tool which uses 2 points to orient your patch. Orient it. Enter, escape. And okay, now this is applied. So this is quite easy to orient your material. And continue. Of course, before we continue, I would like to mention that we have just one step now in our step table. This is for simplicity. We will add more steps in a separate video following after this one. And what I wanted to say is that each step can have individual fiber orientation. Okay, let's go to the next one. Double click. Here you can have the highlight. And I'm again going to use this tool to align with this arrow. Here we go. And please display in the sketcher. I want to display, oops, and my orientation simply like this. Oops. And we are done. Now we have oriented our material as we wanted it, and we are going to continue with the generate mastercard output button. This gives us the material orientation as a figure here, also here. And here we have a cryptic number because of the diagonal not being the perfect 45-degree angle. Therefore, this one is not showing 0, but a little offset minus 15 degrees. All right, then. Since this is done, we can continue to nesting. So automated nesting, nest all. And here you see already your first result. To verify that your material is oriented correctly, you can show the material pattern, and you see this aligns perfectly with our arrows and also with the optical direction of the components like we wanted it. Now, we are going to allow the nest rotations here, the 180 degrees, as mentioned here, and I'm going to nest it. I'm going to reduce the number of cycles, just 10, this is enough, and then nest. And here you see your nested results after the first run. This is not going to improve significantly with the continuing runs here. Therefore, I am going to skip this and keep the result as is. Here we are. And now it is time to end. This is everything for today's tutorial. Please stay tuned for the next video where we are going to add multiple steps into our step table and change the orientation of individual steps. Have fun using NestKing. Bye-bye.